The lunch rush pressed against Marcus' chin like a tide of honking horns and hurried footsteps. His delivery truck idled outside the gleaming office tower on 5th Street, emergency flashers blinking their rhythm against the glass facade. 23 packages for the 15th floor, and his daughter Emma would be getting out of school in 2 hours. Marcus hefted the stack of boxes, his weathered hands steady despite the weight. The building's revolving door spun with executives in $1,000 suits, their conversations floating past him about mergers and market shares. He was invisible to them, just another delivery driver in a faded uniform. That's when he saw her fall. The woman in the navy blazer caught her heel on the uneven sidewalk, her briefcase scattering papers as she went down hard. Her cry of pain cut through the street noise like a blade. Marcus dropped his packages without thinking, muscle memory taking over as he rushed toward her. Where in the world are you watching from right now, and what time is it where you are? This story is about to unfold in ways that might surprise you. The woman clutched her ankle, her face pale with shock and pain. Hey, let me help you, Marcus said, kneeling beside the fallen woman. His voice carried a calm authority that seemed out of place with his simple delivery uniform. A security guard emerged from the building, his chest puffed with importance. What's going on here? He barked, eyeing Marcus with immediate suspicion. The woman tried to stand but gasped as weight hit her ankle. I'm fine, she insisted through gritted teeth, though her pale complexion suggested otherwise. Just twisted it a bit. Ma'am, you shouldn't put weight on that yet, Marcus said quietly. Let me take a look. His hands hovered near her ankle, waiting for permission. Whoa there, buddy, the security guard interrupted, stepping between them. You can't just go touching people. I'll call 911. The guard's nameplate read Stevens, and his voice dripped with disdain as he looked Marcus up and down. Marcus remained crouched, his trained eyes already assessing the injury. The ankle showed classic signs of a grade 2 sprain, possibly worse. The woman's breathing pattern indicated significant pain, but no signs of shock. Really, I'm okay, the woman said again, but when she tried to move, her sharp intake of breath told a different story. Marcus's mind flashed back unbidden to the ambulance bay at General Hospital 3 years ago. The controlled chaos of sirens and stretchers, his hands working confidently to stabilize patients. Back when his uniform meant something different, when people looked at him with respect instead of suspicion. He pushed the memory away and focused on the woman before him. Her ankle was already beginning to swell, the tissue around her heel taking on that telltale puffiness that meant ligament damage. Not a simple twist, he knew from experience. Look, pal, you need to back off, Stevens said, his hand moving to his radio. This isn't your business. The woman looked between them, confusion mixing with her pain. I really think I should try to stand, she said, but Marcus gently shook his head. Ma'am, I know this might sound strange coming from a delivery guy, but trust me on this. You've got significant swelling starting, and if you put weight on it now, you could turn a moderate sprain into something that needs surgery. His daughter Emma's face flashed in his mind, the way she looked at him with such trust when he bandaged her scraped knees. The same careful attention he'd once given to trauma patients now reserved for playground injuries. Stephen stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. I said back off, delivery boy. You're making everyone nervous hanging around like this. His radio crackled as he reached for it, clearly intending to call for backup. The woman, however, was studying Marcus with sharp intelligence. Her pain hadn't clouded her judgment, and something in his manner caught her attention. You sound like you know what you're talking about, she said carefully. Marcus felt the familiar weight of his old life pressing against his chest. His delivery schedule was already running behind, and Emma's school pickup loomed. But looking at this woman's injury, at the way her ankle was positioned, he couldn't just walk away. Ma'am, I've seen enough twisted ankles to know this one needs proper attention, he said quietly. The swelling pattern suggests you've torn something significant. An X-ray would be smart. Stevens laughed harshly. Right, like some truck driver knows about medical stuff. Lady, don't listen to this guy. He's probably just trying to get close to you. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. I'm not trying to cause trouble. Just want to help. The woman's eyes narrowed as she watched the exchange, something clicking into place about Marcus's confident assessment. Marcus glanced at his watch, then back at the woman's increasingly swollen ankle. Without waiting for permission, he moved to his truck and returned with packing tape and a small cardboard box, breaking it down into flat pieces. What are you doing? Stevens demanded, but Marcus ignored him, his movements precise and practiced. Ma'am, I'm going to improvise a splint to keep your ankle stable, Marcus explained, his hands working with surprising dexterity. This will prevent further damage until you can get proper medical attention. The woman watched, fascinated, as Marcus carefully positioned the cardboard against her ankle, creating a makeshift but effective immobilization device. His touch was gentle but confident, checking for circulation with 2 fingers pressed against her foot. That's actually quite good, she murmured, studying his technique. Just then, Marcus's phone buzzed. Daddy, Emma's voice came through the speaker, breathless with worry. I can't find my inhaler anywhere. My chest feels tight. Marcus's hands stilled for a moment, his daughter's needs pulling at him like a physical force. Hold on, sweetheart. Check the kitchen counter by the vitamins, he said, his voice steady despite the panic clawing at his chest. Have you ever found yourself torn between helping a stranger and caring for your own family? Found it, Daddy, Emma's voice crackled through the phone, relief evident even through the tiny speaker. It was under my math homework. Good girl, Marcus breathed, his shoulders relaxing slightly. Use it now, and I'll be there to pick you up soon, okay? Stevens had pulled out his phone and was filming Marcus. Yeah, that's right, keep recording this, he said loudly to the growing crowd of onlookers. Guy claims he's helping, but watch him try to scam her later. The woman's eyes flashed with anger. Excuse me, but this man is providing better care than anyone else here. Stop filming and either help or leave us alone. Lady, you don't know what kind of person this is, Stevens replied, his voice dripping with authority. These delivery types, they see an opportunity and they take it. Probably planning to sue you or something. Marcus finished securing the makeshift splint, his movements economical and sure. The cardboard formed a perfect immobilization device, exactly as he'd learned in his EMT training. He checked her pulse points one more time, noting the strong circulation despite the injury. That's remarkable, the woman said quietly, studying the professional quality of his improvised medical device. Where exactly did you learn to do that? Marcus hesitated, his hand still positioned near her ankle as he performed a final circulation check. The practiced way he pressed 2 fingers against her dorsalis pedis pulse point, then checked capillary refill by pressing her toenail, spoke of training far beyond first aid certification. I used to work in emergency medicine, he said quietly, his voice barely audible above the street noise. Long time ago. Stephen snorted with derision. Right, and I used to be a brain surgeon. Come on, lady, don't fall for this act. But the woman was watching Marcus's technique with growing amazement. His assessment was textbook perfect. Circulation, sensation, movement check completed in precise order. The angle of the splint, the pressure distribution, the careful monitoring for swelling progression. This wasn't amateur guesswork. You're checking for compartment syndrome, aren't you? She said, her voice filled with sudden understanding. Marcus looked up, surprised. Most people wouldn't know that term. Yes, ma'am. The mechanism of injury and swelling pattern suggest we need to monitor for it. Stevens's filming hand wavered slightly. The woman's medical terminology and Marcus's immediate, confident response created a dynamic he hadn't expected. What brings you so much joy in life? Sometimes the people who help us most are the ones we least expect. You're not just someone who used to work in emergency medicine, the woman said, her analytical mind piecing together the evidence. You're trained at a very high level. That assessment was flawless. Marcus sat back on his heels, suddenly looking older than his 38 years. I was a paramedic for 12 years, he admitted. Trauma response team at General Hospital. Stevens lowered his phone slightly, uncertainty creeping into his expression. The gathering crowd had gone quiet, sensing something significant unfolding. What happened? The woman asked gently, recognizing the pain that crossed Marcus's features. Marcus's voice grew thick with memory. My wife was in a car accident 3 years ago. I was first on scene, but I couldn't save her. Lost my confidence, couldn't handle emergency calls anymore. Had to find work that wouldn't put anyone's life in my hands. He looked down at his delivery uniform, the irony not lost on him. Now I just deliver packages. Safe, simple, no one depends on me for anything critical. The woman's expression softened with understanding. And your daughter needs you to be strong, she said quietly. She's everything I have left, Marcus replied, his hands unconsciously adjusting her splint with the precision of someone who'd performed the action thousands of times. The woman studied Marcus's face, seeing the weight he carried. That must have been devastating, she said softly. But you're still using your training. Look what you've done here. Marcus glanced at the splint he'd created, the professional immobilization that had flowed from muscle memory. I guess some things never leave you, he murmured. But delivering packages means I'm home every night for Emma. No emergency calls, no trauma, no chance of failing someone when they need me most. Stevens had stopped filming entirely, his earlier hostility replaced by uncomfortable awareness of his own assumptions. The crowd around them had grown larger, office workers pausing their lunch rush to witness the unfolding drama. You didn't fail anyone, the woman said with quiet conviction. Sometimes terrible things happen despite our best efforts. That doesn't diminish who you are or what you're capable of. Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he made final adjustments to her ankle support. Emma needs her medication refilled this week, and the insurance only covers part of it. This job pays the bills, keeps us stable. I can't risk going back to something where lives hang in the balance. The woman watched his gentle competence, the way he moved with unconscious authority even while speaking of fear and limitation. I need your contact information, the woman said firmly, reaching into her scattered briefcase with her free hand. Marcus, you said your name was Marcus? Ma'am, that's really not necessary, Marcus replied, already gathering his scattered packages. I should get going. My daughter will be waiting, and I've got 12 more stops before 3 o'clock. Stevens cleared his throat awkwardly. Look, I may have jumped to conclusions earlier, he said, his voice stripped of its earlier arrogance. You clearly know what you're doing. The woman pulled out a business card holder, her movements careful to avoid jarring her splinted ankle. Marcus, I insist. What you've done here is exceptional. This splint is better than what some emergency rooms would provide. Marcus glanced at the card she was extending, but shook his head. Really, I just did what anyone would do. You should get to a hospital for X-rays and proper treatment. Anyone would not have known to check for compartment syndrome, she said pointedly. Anyone would not have created a splint this professionally effective using delivery supplies. The crowd around them had grown even larger, office workers with phones raised, capturing this unusual scene of the delivery driver who clearly possessed extraordinary medical knowledge yet insisted on remaining invisible. What's your full name, Marcus? Marcus Chen, he said reluctantly, still focused on helping her to her feet without putting weight on the injured ankle. I really should go now. Please get that X-ray. The woman smiled, a knowing expression crossing her features as she carefully balanced against the building wall. Marcus Chen, she repeated thoughtfully. I'm Dr. Sarah Williams. Marcus nodded politely, not registering the significance. Nice to meet you, Dr. Williams. Take care of that ankle. But Stevens suddenly straightened, his eyes widening with recognition. Wait, Dr. Williams? As in Dr. Sarah Williams from Metropolitan General? Head of Emergency Medicine? The woman's smile grew wider. The same Dr. Williams who's been looking for experienced paramedics to join our trauma response team. The same Dr. Williams who just watched one of the most competent emergency assessments she's seen in years. Marcus froze, his hand still supporting her elbow. "You're the head of emergency medicine," he whispered, the color draining from his face. "And you, Marcus Chen, are exactly the kind of paramedic we desperately need. Your assessment was flawless, your technique extraordinary, and your compassion evident. When was the last time someone told you that your medical skills could save lives again?" The crowd had gone completely silent, phones still recording this impossible reversal of fortune. Marcus stared at Dr. Williams, his mind reeling. "But I left medicine for a reason," he said quietly. "What if I freeze up again? What if someone needs me and I can't deliver?" Dr. Williams balanced carefully on her good foot, her voice filled with conviction. "Marcus, in the last 20 minutes, you've shown more clinical competence and patient care than many doctors I work with. You didn't freeze. You acted." Stevens stepped forward, his earlier hostility completely transformed. "Sir, I owe you an apology. I made assumptions that were completely wrong." Marcus looked around at the crowd, at the phones recording, at the scattered packages he still needed to deliver. But most of all, he thought about Emma, about the inhaler she needed, about the future he could give her. Dr. Williams pulled out her business card again. "We offer excellent benefits, including comprehensive medical coverage for families. Your daughter's asthma medication would be fully covered." 2 weeks later, Marcus walked through the emergency department doors in fresh scrubs, his EMT certification reinstated. Dr. Williams greeted him with a smile, her ankle now in a proper walking boot. "Ready for your first shift back?" she asked. Marcus thought of Emma, proud and beaming as she'd hugged him goodbye that morning. "Ready," he replied. If this story touched your heart, let us know where you're listening from around the world, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.